Willowbrook Manor, an old mansion, surrounded by dense woods. Emily Thompson had inherited Willowbrook Manor, a grand mansion that had stood for generations. Determined to revive the family legacy, she embarked on a restoration project, determined to restore the manor's faded glory. Yet, as renovations commenced, an ominous cloud seemed to descend upon the mansion. The air grew heavy, and the walls seemed to hold secrets of their own. Sarah Turner, a historian captivated by the manor's history, arrived to document its past. Delving into archives, she discovered a dark tale of betrayal and tragedy. Long ago, a maid named Eliza had been accused of stealing a precious heirloom and had died mysteriously within the manor's walls. As the restoration continued, strange occurrences became impossible to ignore. Doors slammed shut of their own accord, and chilling drafts swept through the empty hallways. Late one night, while Sarah was meticulously recording her findings, she heard faint but distinct knocking echoing from within the walls. James Anderson, the local handyman, stumbled upon scratches etched into the walls, as if a desperate hand had tried to claw through. The atmosphere in Willowbrook Manor grew increasingly sinister. Emily woke up one morning to find blood-like stains splattered on her bedroom wall, stains that faded into nothingness as daylight filtered in. Apparitions of a maid in a tattered uniform flickered in and out of sight, her mournful gaze seeming to pierce the veil between the living and the dead. Visitors reported the sensation of icy fingers brushing against their skin, and faint whispers drifted through vacant rooms. The scratching on the walls grew more frantic, as if Eliza's spirit was desperately trying to communicate the truth. Emily and Sarah uncovered more about Eliza's unjust demise, realizing that she had been falsely accused by those who had coveted her innocence. It became apparent that her restless spirit sought justice and release from the torment that bound her. Desperation led Emily, Sarah, and James to consider a seance, a risky attempt to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. On a moonless night, they gathered in the dimly lit parlor, the air charged with a sense of trepidation. Candles flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls, and a palpable chill settled in the room. As they held hands and closed their eyes, they called out to Eliza, inviting her to communicate. A sudden gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles. In the darkness, Emily felt a bone-chilling touch on her shoulder, and a raspy whisper seemed to echo in her ears. "Justice," the voice murmured, sending shivers down her spine. The knocking and scratching erupted, the walls vibrating as if they were about to crumble. Then, with an otherworldly wail, the apparition of Eliza materialized before them. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of sorrow and rage, her form shifting and flickering like a spectral flame. Emily felt a freezing grip around her heart as Eliza's gaze fixed upon her. "You must avenge me," Eliza's voice resonated in Emily's mind. "Those who condemned me to this eternal torment must suffer as I have." Before Emily could respond, the room trembled violently, and a blood-curdling scream tore through the air. James was thrown against the wall with a sickening thud, his life force drained from him. Sarah's eyes widened in horror as her body was seized by an unseen force, her limbs contorted unnaturally. In the chaos, Emily realized the price of disturbing the balance between the worlds. Eliza's quest for vengeance had twisted into an insatiable hunger for suffering. The room filled with an anguished chorus of wails as the walls seemed to bleed, and the very fabric of reality tore apart. In her final moments, Emily understood the truth. Eliza's spirit was a manifestation of vengeance itself, an entity born of the pain and suffering inflicted upon her. The mansion crumbled around them, swallowed by darkness and despair. And as the last vestiges of Willowbrook Manor disappeared, Emily's anguished screams melded with the echoes of Eliza's eternal torment. The outside world knew only that Willowbrook Manor had vanished, leaving no trace behind. The legends that followed spoke of a malevolent force that consumed the mansion and all who dared to enter. The scratches and bloodstains on the walls remained etched into memory, a haunting reminder of the horrors that had transpired within those cursed walls. Whispering Woods Inn, situated at the edge of a dark, foreboding forest. Whispering Woods Inn had once been a haven for wary travelers, seeking solace amidst the mysteries of nature. David and Lily Reynolds had poured their hearts into transforming an old cabin into the cozy inn. Michael Harris, a lone traveler, arrived one stormy evening seeking refuge. As he settled into his room, he began to hear faint whispers, barely audible, yet unsettlingly close. As the storm raged outside, the whispers seemed to gather strength, swirling with the wind through the cracks in the walls. Michael dismissed them as tricks of his imagination, blaming the storm for his unease. But as the night wore on, the whispers grew persistent, their chilling tones weaving a tapestry of dread. It wasn't long before Michael's initial unease escalated into terror. He awoke to a series of loud, urgent knocks at his door. Heart pounding, he opened it, only to be met with empty darkness. The whispers, now more distinct, seemed to echo from the very walls of the inn, as if they were alive and malevolent. In the morning, Michael found scratches etched into the wooden headboard of his bed and a dark red stain that appeared eerily like blood. As days turned into nights, Michael's isolation deepened. He saw fleeting shadows darting through the corners of his vision, and his dreams were invaded by disjointed, haunting visions. His waking hours were plagued by scratches, appearing on his body as if unseen hands were dragging their nails across his skin. Bloodstains became a grim signature, marking the walls like sinister graffiti. Desperation led Michael to confide in David and Lily Reynolds. They revealed the grim history of the inn, built upon land tainted by ancient curses and forgotten tragedies. For generations, the inn had stood as a nexus between the living and the dead, a place where the echoes of the past mingled with the present. The innkeepers shared a dark secret. The only way to break the cycle of torment was for someone to willingly confront the malevolent spirits and offer them solace. With trepidation, Michael agreed to confront the source of the whispers and the spectral torment. One fateful night, as the moon cast eerie shadows across the inn's walls, Michael ventured into the heart of the forest. He called out to the spirits, his voice tinged with a mixture of fear and empathy. The whispers grew louder, surrounding him like a spectral chorus. Suddenly, the air grew frigid, and a figure materialized before him, a pale, tormented soul trapped between worlds. The ghostly figure reached out, its fingers icy to the touch. Michael felt a surge of compassion, understanding the torment that bound the spirit to the earthly realm. He spoke words of comfort, offering understanding and forgiveness for whatever wrongs had befallen the spirit in life. As Michael's words resonated, the whispers transformed into mournful sighs, and the ghostly figure began to dissipate like mist in the morning sun. The scratches on Michael's skin faded, and the bloodstains on the walls slowly faded away. A feeling of peace settled over the forest, and the inn's once oppressive atmosphere lifted. When Michael returned to the inn, he found himself in a haven, untouched by the malevolent forces. The whispers were no more, replaced by the soothing sounds of the forest outside. David and Lily greeted him with gratitude, knowing that his courage had broken the curse that had plagued Whispering Woods Inn. As time passed, the inn's reputation shifted from one of dread to one of renewal. Travelers sought refuge within its walls, finding solace in the tranquility that now permeated the once haunted chambers. The innkeeper's smiles were genuine, and the inn thrived as a place of rest, a testament to the power of compassion in the face of darkness. A remote, desolate island, crowned by a centuries-old lighthouse. The lighthouse on the remote island had guided ships safely through treacherous waters for generations. Captain Thomas Morgan had devoted his life to its care, ensuring the safety of countless sailors. But one day, Captain Morgan vanished without a trace, leaving behind a trail of rumors and unsolved mysteries. His daughter, Amelia, took up his mantle, determined to protect those who traversed the unforgiving seas. Years later, Samuel Hughes arrived to assist Amelia in her duties. While cleaning the lighthouse, he stumbled upon a dusty journal belonging to Captain Morgan. Within its pages, he read of spectral sailors who had appeared to Captain Morgan during violent storms, desperately pounding on the lighthouse windows. As Samuel continued to read, the island was enveloped in a tempestuous storm, the wind howling like the tormented souls Captain Morgan had described. Outside the lighthouse windows, Samuel saw faint, ghostly figures, sailors with hollow eyes, their hands leaving streaks of blood as they pounded on the glass, pleading for salvation. The apparitions' presence intensified, their cries growing louder and more anguished with each passing storm. The lighthouse's beacon malfunctioned during one particularly ferocious storm, leading to a ship's disastrous collision with the rocks. The tormented cries of the sailors joined the spectral wails, creating an unbearable cacophony of despair. Amelia and Samuel found themselves trapped between their duty to protect sailors and the haunting presence that sought their aid. Amelia's determination to maintain her father's legacy clashed with the realization that a malevolent force resided within the lighthouse's walls. The ghostly sailors were not seeking help. They were agents of darkness, drawn to the beacon's light as moths to a flame. After countless nights of torment, Amelia and Samuel knew they had to confront the spirits directly. On a moonless night, as a storm brewed on the horizon, they ventured into the heart of the lighthouse. Their steps echoed in the empty chambers as they called out to the apparitions, their voices laced with compassion and empathy. In the midst of their entreaty, the lighthouse quaked, and a ghostly wind swept through the room. The apparitions materialized with an otherworldly wail, their forms shifting and flickering like shadows cast by a dying flame. Amelia's heart raced as their hollow eyes locked onto her, the weight of their torment heavy in the air. "Release us from this agony," their voices echoed in Amelia's mind, a chorus of desperation that resonated through her soul. As the lighthouse trembled, Samuel was ensnared by an unseen force, his life force draining away. Amelia watched in horror as he crumpled to the floor, his body withering like autumn leaves. In that moment, Amelia understood the truth. The spectral sailors were not seeking salvation. They were conduits of destruction, fueled by an insatiable hunger for suffering. The walls of the lighthouse seemed to weep, and the very fabric of reality twisted as the ghostly sailors' anguish mingled with the storm outside. Amidst the chaos, Amelia's heart filled with a profound sorrow. She realized that she could not banish the spirits. Their torment was an eternal cycle, unbreakable by mortal hands. As the storm raged on, The lighthouse's foundation crumbled, consumed by the darkness that had taken root within. Amelia's screams were swallowed by the tempest as the lighthouse collapsed, its beams and stones consumed by the maw of the abyss. The island was left barren, the memories of its cursed lighthouse buried beneath the waves. The legend lived on, whispered by sailors who knew to steer clear of the forsaken island, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead had been forever shattered.